Welcome to Permission to Shine, the space where high-achieving women like you come to peel back the layers, overcome what's been holding you back, and rise into your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Sharice Bisram, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, and a woman who knows what it means to look like she's thriving on the outside, also while feeling disconnected on the inside. This podcast is here to remind you, you didn't come here to just perform, you came here to lead with your soul. Your obstacles, they're invitations to expand. And your power, it was never outside of you. It's been waiting within you all along. Each week we'll dive into honest conversations, healing insight and soul-led strategies to help you stop self-sabotaging, reclaim your light and lead your life, your business and your relationships from deep-rooted truth. So if you're ready to rise with grace, softness and fire, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to welcome back a very popular guest because this is something that I know successful women, this is our weak spot, or maybe the part that, again, which André will go into, the part that we were taught wrong. Right. And this is André is going to be here to give you the steps into softening and deepening into your feminine energy so you can receive the relationship that you truly deserve, attract it and keep it. So I'm really excited to reintroduce André Paradis.
Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you are. I forget where you are.
UK.
This morning. UK, that's right. So I'm in Los Angeles. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Amazing. Well, do you want to give a quick overview of what it is you do in a nutshell, because we're going to link back to the other episode for anyone that wants to know.
And I also want to set up the audience so they can actually hear me and you know, in the right way. And I'll explain in a second. So my name is André Paradis. I'm a relationship coach. I'm an NLP practitioner. This is the tools that I use to help people through the trauma. I always say I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship to release your baggage from your childhood and the past relationships, that right? Like we kind of attach to those and they say we get stuck on those and they drive us. Anyway, so an NLP practitioner, and I'm an educator of effective communication strategies, which, you know, in my business, my world is, you know, within love relationships, but all relationships, we as men and women communicate completely differently. We don't really know that. But that's also cause of all the pain, the frustration, the misunderstanding. And, you know, so that's a huge part of my work, like, you know, communication tools. And anyway, that's so for the audience who, if you never heard me speak before, I'd like you to consider that when I talk about masculine and feminine, you have to understand that both men and women have masculine and feminine within us. So there's a combination that we have to balance in order to thrive and line up more. This is what I talk about. We need to line up more with our essence, our bodies, in order to thrive and be happier and go with nature. Everything I teach is nature and science and psychology, right? So it's not my opinion. So when I talk about men, women, or masculine and feminine, I need the audience to give me allow me the generalization. It's not all men. There's no such thing as 100%, you know, right? There's an 80-20 rule with everything. 80% is called the norm. The 20% is called the hybrids. And so I'm saying this because without generalization, we can't even have a conversation and decode these things. Secondly, I want the audience to listen to learn as opposed to listen to agree, disagree, because that's what we do automatically as humans. We hear information and we judge it. Like, oh, I know that's true. Wait, I never thought about this, right? Like when the conversation is going on in your head, right, you're missing what I'm talking about. So instead of listening to agree, disagree, which was an automatic default, listen to learn. Just listen to learn. Just let it in. And, you know, you'll ask me the questions if something about what I said is unclear or needs clarification. So that's all I'm saying. It's a great way to learn. This is really how you open the channels to receiving new information without you getting stuck on, wait, what? Anyway, that's what I have to say. Good morning.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. Well, to be honest, I think I talk a lot about feminine and masculine energy as well. And a lot of my work is all about how we surrender into that feminine and we are stepping out of the doing, proving and all of those things to, you know, be able to receive the life that we want through that divine creation instead of force, right? So I think that my audience knows and understands that. But I think the transition from how they do that in their business and their life to how they do that in their relationships, I think is where some women get stuck, you know, especially the single women. I think the women in relationships have probably found that back and forth, or a little bit, they understand the dynamic a little bit better, whereas I find the single women that have been single for a long time and or haven't been able to hold down a solid relationship, I feel like these are the women that we are talking directly to today. And obviously if you're in a relationship, you can definitely benefit from some of this, what we're going to be speaking about too. But I think for my single ladies, I feel like we are going to go in. So I think,
Beautiful.
Andre, start with what the problem is. Let's head on, face it, listen up, listeners, because we're talking to you.
Again, not my opinion. What I see every single day of my life. This is my full-time job. It's not a hobby, right? So it changed from 10 years ago. 10 years ago was always the dynamic between, men are shallow and women talk too much, or they take everything personally, they're a little crazy, right? That was always the not understanding each other's sort of operating system. Nowadays is completely different. For about 10 years, but the last 5 years is flipped completely. Is that now we raise women to be strong, independent, and powerful, which is forcing them into their masculine, and they value themselves for being masculine because you have to be a boss babe to be respected in the world, or even to survive, right? So they lean to the masculine, which affects the relationships, like it or not. It becomes a blind spot. Masculine energy men do not date masculine energy women. They just don't. They don't, right? So, but if you think that makes you interesting, that you have a career in a business and swag money and degrees and whatever, but that's not where men show up. Masculine men aren't interested in that. They have their own. Like, they want to provide that. They want to provide the support. They want to provide the help, the guidance, the leadership. So when women get stuck in that boss babe energy, literally men push out. They disappear. They don't see you. You become basically, we call it like, an ice cube. Everything lovely, warm, and feminine, and magnetic about you is out the window because you're up in your head like us. So when you act like men, you behave like men, you talk like men, you compete like men in the world of men go, cool dude, way to go, bro. But there's nothing about you is magnetic, which is so these guys are looking for soft, sweet, feminine, radiant women, which is, again, like I said, what happened is you get tilted too far. You want to get your life together. You want to be independent to a point, but when you get stuck in that energy, your relationships will suffer and men will not respond. Children will not respond. Other women even find you irritating. Like, there's a whole lot that comes with that over-calibration. And so that's what I see all day long. On the flip side, we've feminized men thinking, if we soft them up, like the world's going to be a safer place. Absolutely crap, because it's the lack of masculinity that makes men dangerous. Cheaters, liars. It's the lack of masculinity. The rest of us, are protecting the rest of the world, and ladies and children, from these guys. So the soft men are the dangerous, erratic, unstable ones, typically emotionally unstable and financially. Those are not the men that you want, right? You say you want a nice guy, you can't stand it, right? Because he's weak and doesn't make you feel safe, and ultimately he gets in the friend zone. So women still want masculine men, men still want feminine women. So we flip the script and think it should be better. It's terrible. So that's my word.
Yeah, absolutely that. And you know what? I'm nodding along because I have been that, like I have been it. I think the last time you came, I was like, hello, that was me. And you know what? I would say that last piece, like I said, was the relationship piece for me. And it's something that I'm still in, by the way. Like I haven't found love yet. But again, I feel like the way I look at love is different now, like I definitely am more open, more soft, more magnetic as a result of, I guess, another thing, not putting the pressure on it. Because again, I feel like that's the force, like when you're like, right, yes, I'm single, I want to be in a relationship, so I'm going to look for it, I'm going to go on all the apps, I'm going to be doing all the things. And for me, I feel like that's not feminine. So I'm like, okay, now I'm stepping away from using apps and surrendering into just enjoying my life and focusing on the things that I like doing, spending time with family, friends, and all the things, and trusting that having conversations, being open is going to bring that in as a result. And I remember what you said the last time as well about you're such a gentleman. saying that line, asking a man to help you and calling him a gentleman is the secret weapon. It's the secret weapon, ladies. So I guess the first step then, we know that what the problem is, and we know that we've been taught to be in our masculine energy, and that could be, as we know, through our lived experience, through trauma and survival, which was definitely my experience there. So now we want to do things differently, and we want to surrender into our feminine so that we naturally magnetize the right type of man. What would be the
Yes.
first step at that point?
Okay, so simple. You ready? So, in a nutshell, this is like the compilation of my work in a nutshell. But it's fun because it's simple. I think it simplifies so people can actually grasp it and move on with it. But to be masculine is to be in your head, whether you're a boy or a girl, and to be feminine is to be in your body or in your heart. And what happens is when we teach you ladies to go boss babe, and you in your head, you disappear from our presence. You're energetically a dude. So we'll talk like you're a dude. We'll be crass like you're a dude. We'll tell bad jokes in front of you, like, and you're like, what? How they're so right? You're not a woman in that energy to men. It's not on purpose. It's just literally like how we react to it. So if you find yourself stuck in your masculine, if you find yourself having nobody asking you out, and if you get somebody to take you out, you can't get a second date, it's you. It's your energy is not what the man that you want to attract are looking for. So my work with my ladies after we do some of the trauma release is really to get back into your bodies. And simply said, is anything that makes you feel good, ladies, will get you out of your head.
Mm.
Anything that feels good to your body, to your senses, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, what you hear, right? Surround yourself with things that feel good to you. You slip out of your head. I had a young lady, she's in Delaware, years ago, beautiful girl, 32 years old. I mean, seriously stunning, right? No attention, no dates, traumatized. Okay, I remember that. So she was very guarded, which is what happens to a lot of you per life circumstances. But as being guarded, like I said, she would protect herself and was turned in, as gorgeous as she was, invisible in the world. So as we opened her up, right? Now she's married with a kid, by the way. It works so well. Goosebumps. Because I remember her from that beginning plays. What she's so stepped into this 100 miles an hour because she had intuition that she had two children coming through. And in order for her to be able to live that life's purpose that she was intuitively, she knew that's why she used part of her life. She was like, I need to understand relationship. I need to understand man. I need to get over this crap, right? My point is, so when she would get in her car, understanding this, using your senses to get you out of your head, she would go to work, and she said, she ended up really resenting going to work because she goes, it takes everything out of me. Everything lovely about me is gone. Everything feminine about me is gone. Everything connecting about me is gone, right? I'm burnt, like it's too much energy out, and there's nothing left for me. And I said, well, slowly, this gets you back on the. So she would go. This is fantastic. She would get in her car after work, kind of like, ugh, right? And she said that first thing she do, she turned on the music, the radio, and to her favorite station. And she's a singer as well, like she's a part-time, like amateur singer type thing. She could sing, so she would sing along with the song, which would change her mood, right? Lighten her up, like, whew, I'm not working now. Now let's connect with energy, with music. She had rose oil in her car, and so music on, some singing, a little rose oil. And she goes, that just brought me back. Like I just like the smell of like that smell just like kind of gets me grounded. And then she would touch her arms and like kind of give herself one of these until she caught her breath. And she said, within a few minutes, I was back in my body. And she goes, now from that space, if I went to the store, if I went in the world, if I went just doing some errands between the time I got home, she goes, but the moment I got out of the car after doing this little ritual, she goes, I was a woman in the world. Men started looking at me and smiling, right? Women were kinder, dogs come sniffing, children smile. Like she goes, it changed my entire environment. So whatever makes anything you see, smell, taste, touch here that feels good. It could be Beethoven. It works, right? Like just pick your favorite activity or a mixture of all that include your five senses. Watch your nervous system just calm down. And from that place, well, most of you get rejuvenated. And then the light comes back on into your body, like you shine, just, like the light that was gone kind of comes back. And then your life, your reality, your energy, your frequency, and how you affect the world around you changes. So it's just simple enough, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you're stuck in your head. You're invisible. We don't care. We don't see you, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely that. And you know what? It's really, really similar to the work that I teach with my clients in like regulating their nervous system and exactly that being in their body. I think we've both come from a dance background, so we know the importance of that movement piece and like, just like shaking it out for the sake of it and putting on music and just feeling good. I think that this is where I really wanted to highlight for, my listeners and clients and everything that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So this feminine energy piece across the board, whether that's like how you're living your life and your business and you don't want to be in burnout anymore, it's exactly the same process to attracting this person that you want in your life, and through that softening and reconnecting with yourself, because that's essentially what it is, isn't it? That reconnection to like your soul self.
That's it. Your essence as a woman is to be in your body, be present, to be, the connector, to be nurturing. Like all these things are from within, not from your head, right? That nurturing instinct is, and the connectivity to be in community, to feel cherished, to feel important, to feel seen. It's all things that women need naturally. So if you act like men and behave like men and you get none of that, it makes women hard, makes women cold, and eventually resentful, angry. Nobody's seeing me. Nobody wants to help me. Nobody, right? Like there it is. Like it's a practice away from your essence. So how do we bring you back gently? And then you can make choices because you have to be masculine to work to a point, sure. But if you can't slip back into your feminine, especially on dates and with men in the world, they don't want anything to do with you. Not because they're mean, it's because energetically that's they want the girl, they want the feminine, they want the radiance, they want the touch on the arm, they want the you know being in the presence of that lifts our spirit, and it's so powerful. Most women don't understand that. Like if you understood the power of your feminine energy on us, it would throw you on your knees, because it throws us on our knees. It's that powerful. So the feminist movement has taught you that femininity is weak and powerless. It's the exact opposite, is your superpower. So let's get back into that. At the moment you start touching it, if you practice this a little bit and you start to get, right, you'll recognize how powerful it is, especially with men, masculine men.
Yeah, and I would also say to that when we are in our masculine, we're in our head and we're focused on what we can't see, we're not noticing when it is available. Like my whole life, I've always thought that, between those ages where I was really in that kind of trauma response survival mode, I always felt like I was really ugly at that time. But it wasn't that. It was because I was so looking at what I didn't have instead of being open to see that there was male interest and there was men looking at me when I was out and about and things like that. But because I was so focused on thinking and being in my head and not being present in my body, I didn't feel it and notice it. And now I do see it all the time. And even more so, not necessarily about the looking for, a potential suitor, but just in terms of energy and like, being open and like women coming up to me and just wanting to know what I do and just like randomly talking to me in a coffee shop, and like you said, children and animals, like, and then like random like butterflies will land on me and I'm like, cool, I'm just in a high vibe right now, and that's just the frequency that I get to be in as a result of really softening. And just what it does to your nervous system as a whole is just that in itself is magical, I think, because especially when you've come from these backgrounds of hardship, and whether you have or haven't experienced like severe trauma or a little bit or whatever, if you've lived in this high anxious state or this burnout mode or this masculine energy mode, You need to regulate your nervous system. You just do, because like you said, that feminine energy needs to be. So all the time you are not being and you're doing, you're literally
Yep.
using up all of the charge of your battery, aren't you? So you're literally on empty, dragging
Yep.
this big heavy thing along. Whereas if you stop for a minute and reconnected, you would overflow. And that's exactly what happens, I believe, with the masculine, right? It's like the feminine recharges the masculine in
Absolutely.
like a
You
really
have no
beautiful way.
idea. We so connect with you, like energetically, the effect that you have on us, you're blind to, but we know instantly. So if you're not feminine, we don't care, and if you're feminine, like the ladies that I see, I officiate weddings as well. So some of my clients, I marry them myself, but all the ones that I notice that I'm marrying after doing the work but the ones who don't need the work in order to get married, to have the life of their dreams, are just naturally feminine. And men just take them off the market like this. By the time they're 25, they're off the market and they're married by 28, 29. Right? They're essentially in their natural essence. So they haven't fell into the boss babe kind of paradigm, you know, traditional family, traditional dad in the space, right? They have a couple of brothers who keep them accountable, blah, 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 blah. So we know what works and we know what doesn't work. So like, how do we calibrate? And again, if you tilt it, it's not your fault. But the idea is to, and the moment you taste the other side, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, quality of life, and then you'll radiate and magnetize, energy towards you that will make you feel safe and connected and present and seen and all the goodies. Women instinctively need attention to relax. Because if you feel abandoned and alone, you're stressed out, you're your own man, you have to protect yourself, nobody cares, right? That's stressful. So the idea of like, connecting to this and be seen and heard and be part of a community, be part of a system that recognizes you, appreciates you, and it ultimately will feed into you because that's what the masculine does to the feminine, right? We give, 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 right? So the same client I just told you about, who's now married with a kid, was working she works in a office space, like some kind of Home Depot, but mom and pop's company. So she has a desk where she does the logistical stuff and design, and across from her there's four of the ladies, but her desk is kind of segregated. She goes, the same girl who's invisible. When she started turning all that juice on, she's like, all the men that work in the space would come up and go, hey, how are you today? Like they would just like come up. And so I'm going to the coffee room. You want some coffee? I'll give you some water. And she'd go, oh, thank you so much. That would be great. Like she became a yes to them, right? So men started being attracted to her softness, right? At work, they're not trying to pick her up. They're just responding to it, right? And then attentive and are you hot? Are you cold? Are you stand? Right? Like, and so much so that the ladies across her desk started getting really mad that she's got all this masculine attention, but it's nature, it's energy, right? And so they didn't understand and all of a sudden, how come the guys always stop by her? How come there's always somebody sitting next to her, like, trying to help her? Feminine energy. And again, she was still working, but soften the thing. The caveat, which is hysterical, is apparently the boss, the owner of the company, was an old, crabby man, like no manners, stoic, just crabby, right? He didn't say a word, and if we said something, it was like directive. She said, they said the caveat is at one point, as she worked this out more and more and better and could adjust it for herself, she goes, the boss showed up at her desk, sat on the corner, started asking a few questions because he was also magnetized to her, and started giving her daddy advice. And the women almost exploded on the other side. They're like, what in the hell is going on here? How come energy?
Absolutely.
It's not that hard. You have to practice it though. That's all.
You know what, as well, I feel like I've been on such a journey with this. And I think the last time we spoke, I'd just come out of a relationship and noticed that I'd done the magnetism at the beginning. I was really in it. And then when it came to I guess the relationship going further and more commitment coming through, that was when I started to see that he was a boy. And I was like,
Uh,
oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like my magnetism was alluring, my feminine energy was alluring, but then he wanted then me to take. I definitely feel like I probably switched a gear where I did go a little bit masculine in like
mhm.
maybe organizing things. So then
Yep.
that I feel like was my switch, but then
Yep.
he then wanted a mum. And then I feel
Yep.
like that was the dynamic where it just didn't work. And I was glad that that broke off, because then again, I'll go on a deeper journey of like softening, understanding why that happened and all of the things. And then I was on the train with my sister a few months later, I think it was in the summer, and this man had lots of luggage. And he literally moved all of his luggage so I could sit down. And I was like, honestly,
Yeah.
I was like, it's absolutely fun. And my sister was like, if that was anyone else, they would not have moved. But this guy had created Jenga for you to sit down. And I was like, yeah, but this is the work, right? And I think for anyone listening, I was the most masculine female that you could possibly think of. Like who you're talking about in your examples, everything you
Yep.
say about that woman, I have been, right? So what I'm highlighting here is that it doesn't matter how masculine you've had to be, you get to change the script, right? And you get to unlearn these things and embody this feminine energy that's already there. It's just hidden underneath all the things, right? So I
That's
think
it. That's
what we're
it.
saying is this whole process of that. So I guess now we know like we need to reconnect and how to do that.
Yep.
The other question I feel like I face a lot with my friends that are in this position and all the things is, um, how do they attract that masculine guy that is also equivalently successful as they are? Because that
Hmm.
is also something, isn't it? That I mean, you might have a different approach to that, but obviously a guy that maybe does a 9 to 5 and earns significantly less than that woman isn't going to be the right match. So where does she find the guy that
Mm.
is earning more so she can
Oh.
feel more feminine? Because I can't wait for this. I can see
All
you're
right. Well,
stretching, ready.
there's four different angles here. There's four different things that are happen. They need to happen for this to really be. So, first of all, if you're in your masculine, it's because you were forced into it per life circumstances, bad daddy, no daddy, whatever, right? Divorce, all these things will throw a woman in her masculine at the age of 5 forward. So this, you're not masculine because you're broken. You're masculine because stuff happened that didn't allow you to step into your femininity. And so then you get into masculine energy, which means you control everything, you manage everything, you do it, which kills you, right? Now get this, just a little data because I'm a data freak. I'll back it all up. A regular work week on a man, right? The stress that it takes to like get up in the morning, get in the shower, get ready, get in the car, get to work, compete, make some money, come back, right? We call it a regular energy, a regular week stress, not out of control stress. It's just doing life. Cost a woman 6 times more stress. We're built for it, you're not, right? So if you experience 6 times more stress living like men, being in your masculine all the time, that's what kills you. Okay, so part of being in your masculine is you want to control everything. Control is masculine. You can't control man. You will not control men in any way. Men will not obey or follow you if they're men at all. Boys will, right? So what's what's difficult from that place of being in your masculine energy is you have to let go of control. And if you let go of control, you become very, very vulnerable. And for some ladies, it scares the life out of them because they're, if you're vulnerable, then you're really, really open to be getting hurt, to being manipulated, to be right. So that's really the dance: is how do you kind of recalibrate yourself and start feeling safe that masculine is here to protect, to provide, to give, to cherish, to give, to lead, to guide, right? Like that's the national masculine energy. So that's the journey in order to even attract those guys, right? So, and then on the other side, men who are the men that you want are traditional. They're traditional, right? If you want to be married and kids, that's a traditional man. And most men, not the boys, in my world, there's 4 types of men, you know this. So the boys don't, but the rest of them instinctively want to be relevant in the world, build something, make some money, be successful so they can actually have a wife and kids. That's the first thing men say. right? Now that I'm successful, I'm able to support a wife and kids and build a kingdom. And then my legacy, right? That's so. But get this, this is again, when a woman gets to make money, right? The reflex is, I don't need nobody. We go into a service that we want to build families. You go into, I don't need no man, or I'm independent. That's right. So I don't need nobody. And then what happens is, have you ever heard of hypergamy? Okay, hypergamy is an instinct. It sounds terrible, but it's just instinctual. Is that women can only date and marry sideways and up, never down. So, an example of this is if you're a nurse, right? If you're a nurse in a hospital, you'll be able to date a male nurse who's on your level, or a doctor or a surgeon, but you can't date the guy in the kitchen. That's hypergamy. So women are always looking to be able to look up at their mates, not down. If you look up, you respect them. If you look down, you can't. So when women make $100,000 a year, now the guy that you can look up to has to be the six-figure baller, 6 feet tall, six-pack, right? All this stuff. So what's happening is because of hypergamy and women being so capable, so educated, so masculine, right? They all want the guy who's better than them, taller than them, makes more money than them, smarter than them, more experience, more everything. But there's very few of those guys. So the statistics is 80% of women want the 10% of men. And when the 10% of men who have all of it you want have access to 80% of women, they don't need to commit. They don't want relationships. They're going to have 6 girlfriends. They're going to rotate you from day to day. So the guys that you want in the end are not the ones they're likely to give you what you want. So you have to reframe this thing, right? The traditional men don't necessarily make 6 figure. Little boys that work for the city and make, good money and all the benefits. That's husband material. But again, hypergamy often will have ladies blinded into, again, having to look up. So when you understand this mechanism, you could chill and maybe kind of derail it, because on its own, I'm in Los Angeles, right? Money everywhere, and women all want the same guys. All want the same guys, and everybody's lonely. And the guys are having a hell of a time. That's what's not working. But you understand how that happens. See it? So it's if you understand that most people in God, how do I say this? If you look around at people, most of us are just average. Do you know what I mean? There's very few really like low energy, terrible, and ugly people, and there's very few like super, super intuitive or saint-like energy, beautiful people. Like we're all in the middle. You know what I mean? But hypergamy would have women want these guys, where the reality is this is where you belong, kind of thing. So it's an interesting thing. We're all freaking average. Most everybody's a 5 in every way, in lifestyle, in money making. Like we're managed, just working, but no, the superstars are in a different bracket. But if you want superstars, you end up alone. That's the warning, right? The guys that you want are the least likely to give it to you. Reframe your thinking, reframe what you value in yourself, because there's a lot of good men out there who are being looked over because of it.
Yeah, that's so powerful, and I'd never heard of that that saying before. But as you were saying it, I was like, yes, because I know all of my successful female friends that are single are doing that. I know they're all looking up for these people, and then the ones that are that, exactly what you said, the men that are, the good looking, earning lots of money, they are playing the field. And
absolutely,
or not really looking for that type of woman, right? They want the easy, accessible. And I'm not saying that women are easy and accessible, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the women that aren't focused on their career and are available to just date and have a nice time, right? It's because the businesswoman has got more masculine energy, and it's so that there is this real I guess crux of where everything meets in the middle, and it's all just an explosion of nothingness, and I feel
absolutely.
like that's where I think so many women are stuck. And it was so funny when you said so many people are average, because I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I feel like, especially for me, like in all of my work, It's about showcasing and allowing people to see how incredible they are, and all of their superpowers and all those things. But if we zoom out of that, we are just allowing ourselves to feel more loved, more accepted, more connected to who we truly are. That's actually not about putting yourself on a pedestal. It's about accepting yourself truly. So instead of thinking about standing up and being on something above people, it's like standing up so you can feel seen and received, like not necessarily a hierarchy, but more so filling in the gaps of the outline of you being
Woo,
there.
woo, preach, sister, preach. You get it, right? But
Mm,
hypergamy is sneaky because it's instinctual. You know what I
mm.
mean? So the more powerful, the more educated, the more money women make, the less they can find the guy who is willing to give them, monogamy, marriage, children, legacy, like all that stuff. It's terrible.
So
But
what does this
we're
look
all blind
like?
to it. Tell
I
me.
want to know what this looks like, the next phase of this, because that's got me really interested. So what is the antidote to this part? Because that's the thing that I think, like I said, women are stuck here. So obviously it's deconditioning to be able to not see that. But then that, your woman that you saw that was, in that good job and all the things she met her partner, how does that relationship dynamic work then? Does she surrender enough that she can accept a man that's not earning as much as her, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so as a rule, like I said, the quality of life, what women want is connection, to feel safe, to be loved, to be cherished, right? This is what where women thrive. Women realize, my clients, they realize that money and career doesn't make them happy. They get to 35 and they realize they're tired, they're exhausted, they don't want to do this anymore. It's not, satisfaction isn't there. The money doesn't make them happy. So for the feminine, the quality of all relationships around you is what determines your level of happiness. Like all other people, like if you're like a boyfriend or a husband, yes, but with your family, with your coworkers, with a mailman, like if the relationships around you are working and satisfying, and you feel seen and heard, that means you feel connected and safe, right? This is what makes women happy. So, right. So that's the kind of go-to. So relationships are what brings you back. So that my client that I told you about, what happened is, as she started radiating, right, she ended up dating 3 or 4 boys that showed up, because you radiate everybody, but you have to filter, right? Oh, no, 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 know what to avoid. But when she met James, he's not a big guy. He's not even a tall guy. They're the same height, but he was completely enchanted by her energy. He was a man, and he leaned in, and was cracked me up. So at one point she was so busy, because she was also, besides working, she had something else going on the side, plus classes. And when he first met her, he's like, "When are you available?" And she's like, "I'm not available for 3 more weeks. I'm sorry, I'm busy to date, and I have 2 more dates after this, like within." So what he did, a masculine man, he says, "I'll take all three." He booked all 3 slides, the time slot that she had available to date him. And sure enough, he shows up, and like he's caught up. She's leaning back on the date. She's doing the these as opposed to this. You know what I mean? She's like, because I taught her how to slip back into her feminine in her energy. So to be present with her was a magnet, as opposed to interviewing the guy to find out who he is, right? All that jazz. So her job was to figure out who's in front of her, as opposed to, does he like me? Does he want me? Is he a good guy? Right? Just see who that is. But from a lean back energy, let him ask the question, let him lead the conversation, let him be a man who instantly responds to that. Energetically, we know a woman is responsive. A woman is available. A woman is present. A woman is warm and connected. A woman is interested. Like in a few minutes, do you know what I mean? So as she leaned back, this guy, boom, boom, boom. And within a few weeks, is like, "I want you to be my girlfriend." He took her off the market, and that's how men do it. When they're afraid to lose you, they pull you off the market. But it's all about that feminine energy. So I always say, this is misunderstood a lot. Women control access to sex, right? No one's having sex until you say, "We're good to go." Right? Men are always trying, but so you control access to sex and sexuality. Men, again, listen carefully because everybody gets it wrong, control access to relationships. Well, women say to me, no, I decide if I like the guy. No, yes and no. And this is the caveat here, right? So nobody's going out, you don't go, nobody's dating you unless he says, be my girlfriend. Nobody's getting married till he gets on one knee. He decides you're the right woman for him per investigating who you are, right? Your personality. And it takes a moment. It takes a while. That's the point. That's how men do it. Then as you're investigating what comes at you, right? Oh, he's a boy. Oh, we want different things in life. Oh, he's like, he doesn't want kids. Okay, right? And you just go, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. I don't see this going anywhere. So I just want to let you know up front. Right? That's respectful. The guys will, right? Until the one that comes around you that you kind of lines up with the lifestyle that you want, the future that you want. And by the way, I have to say this, there is no such thing as the one. And there's another mistake that the women make. The one. What if he's the one and you twist yourself trying to fit what you think he wants? That makes you inauthentic. So your loveliness actually gets hidden because you think maybe this is no, stop, right? You date with let's just find out who he is. But show up in that warm feminine energy, you'll have date after date after date after date after date, and your job is to sort till you're really energetically and your frequency lines up with somebody who wants the future that you want. It's really not that hard.
But
It's really not that hard.
when you're saying it's not that hard, I know for that woman that she's controlled everything else in her life. So then when it comes to being in that seat, I believe that is the part where she has to sit back. Yeah. And you know what's funny? I think for me, when I'm looking back on what you're saying and remembering parts of myself in sort of relationship dynamics, I do feel like the minute I meet a man that I'm dating, I naturally did take a step back. I naturally did go into that feminine because I believe that I was saying, show me who you are. And then I think when I started to feel like I wanted it to change, that was when I obviously stepped into my masculine, right?
Ta-da!
So exactly what you said there about how men control the relationship and women control sex. I get it because I'm like, yeah, do you know what? The moment that I felt like I like this person, I want it to go further, that's where I would dial it up or push forward instead of leaning back and letting them find me. So yeah, that's such a very clear way of showing it. So for anyone listening, I hope that was a great example of, how we do it, how it's sneaky and you don't see it, but now you're aware of it. I hope that you can practice it.
Yes. The moment you like him, you're going to try to make it work. And you think of it, then you lean in and your loveliness pulls back and you want to, when do I see you again? Am I going to see you this weekend? You start taking the lead. You try to control the situation because now you're a little bit vulnerable and insecure because you really like it. No. This is when you lean back even more. Lean back even more. You like him, pull back, wrangle yourself back. It's just one guy. There are plenty of guys out there. Let's see who he is. Now, get this. Okay, we're going to go there. Are you ready? We're going to go there. The mistake that I see, this is my world. I see this all day long. But he was so nice in the beginning. And now you changed. Have you changed? Oh, well, I tried. So that's a common thing. You just said it. It's beautiful. Thank you. Like, I heard it get there on the podcast because it's so, sometimes it's whatever. But so with the mistake that women make in our culture nowadays, and because a lot of you are a little bit insecure, a lot of you are needy, right? A woman needs affection, a woman needs to be touched, a woman needs to be seen, a woman needs to be held. Like you need that to literally kind of, right? It gives you oxytocin, it relaxes your body. So women are needy after being 6 times more stressed throughout the day, the week, the month, the years, right? So you meet a guy, you like the guy, right? 1 date, 2 date, 3 dates, right? He likes you like him. You have chemistry. And most people now in our culture, before, after that, 4 or 5 days, start intimacy. Woman decides it's time to start because we all know that men want sex. So women don't understand men's psychology, think if you give him what he wants, he's going to continue liking you. The problem is when you sleep with a guy early without him liking you, you become the thing to play with. So that whole damn thing about needing to be touched and desired and, loved, and you think the guy's got potential, so you give him sex thinking it's going to start. Women think intimacy starts a relationship, and for men, it doesn't at all. Men have never been hooked to a woman because of sex, as far as getting it. Women don't marry women who they have easy sex with. They just don't. Traditional men don't do this. You want a traditional man, you have to act like a traditional woman. So sexuality too early is the second part of this shit show that doesn't work. Now, I'm not a moralist. I'm not a prude. I'm telling you this is the data, the statistics, the freaking research, and all the interviews. Men look down at women who haven't proven that they're a good guy. He didn't have to really show himself as a provider protector, a good guy who respects her, wants her to be. You cross the line too quick, he goes, she's just one of those. She's just one of those. And he doesn't, and he'll continue playing with you until he's bored with you because he's looking for a traditional woman. I mean, this is, sounds, people will get triggered, but this is just the dynamic of it. This is just the nature of it. I'm not making this up. That's another place, besides trying to control him, that you step in across too fast. And I'm telling you, and men can explain that, right? Men always want to have sex, and they're testing you with that, right? If he gets laid on the first date, he was going to tell all his friends he got lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not going to meet his family. You're not going to meet his friend. You're that chick. He's going to be playing with you for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years until he gets bored. But the whole time he's looking for somebody else.
Yeah.
Not because he's a jerk, because that's what masculine traditional men do.
Yeah, no, I know that, and I've seen that so many times in my when I was a dancer. Obviously, that was something that women just naturally were doing, and I believe now in the spiritual connection of sex as well. And I personally don't want to give up and give my energy to anyone, especially knowing how sacred and magical it is. I'm like, why do you want to give your magic away? Keep your magic for as long as possible.
And by the way, that's what polarizes men even more. There's the mystery of she's got boundaries and she knows who she is and she's not going to compromise herself. Men, it doesn't make men walk away. It makes them go, damn, damn, damn. Now the guy who just wants sex will walk away. Good for you. Seriously, it's sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I was going to just agree with that part. Like, I absolutely feel like that really is like another part where women trip over. And again, I think it's that part of control, isn't it? That I think that women feel like, oh, if they hand them that, then it keeps them. And it's not that, and that's also, for me, I can see it in, like we said, the daddy issue thing, like women that needed to fight for attention from their father, that then they believe that to perform is to get attention. So then sex is another form of performing, and it really is that dynamic. So yeah, I guess really, what would you say is like the round off then to this? So say you've followed the process, you've surrendered into your feminine, you've opened yourself up, and you're magnetic to all different types of men, but you're now sorting through the ones that feel aligned. You've met someone that feels like that is going in the right direction, and you're sitting back and you're surrendering control. What is kind of like the last phase of that, like the sealing of the deal? Is then the next part that you remain in this surrender, or is there something that happens that's different?
So no, I mean, if you're going to magnetize him because of your femininity, that's what he's looking for. That's what keeps it attached and connected. And if you pull that back, do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, you're going to feel him pull back. And then not that he's going to pull back, but the connection fades. Do you know what I mean? So that essential connection, that feminine energy needs to stay. So whichever way you have to cultivate it, nurture it. Typically, masculine men will want you to work less because they understand what it costs you, and it costs them the connection. It costs them the warmth that they're looking for. One of my clients married a guy. This was like, God, they have a 5-year-old now. It's crazy. But lovely girl in Los Angeles, couldn't find a guy, like, so kind of got her back into her body, her presence and understanding. She's the first one who told me the way she shifted is she has 2 masters. She's pretty, she's blonde, like she could attract anybody if she did, right? But boys, right? A bunch of boys. She was tough chick, like I said. And then she realized, she goes, I'm in the money lane, energetically. She spends her life in the masculine lane. And she's like, my heart cries. That's what she puts it. My heart was crying for the love lane.
Mm.
And always, you can't be in both lanes. This is where women try to do in our culture. And you basically fail at both, right? Because you can't put your energy in two different things. You can't have two gods. You can't cherish, you can't go after two masters. It's like they're both going to be lukewarm. So anyway, her energy was like when she realized she could be a boss, she could be whatever, but she wanted to experience love. And to her, love was to have kids. And she goes, I want to be the woman to bear those kids, right? To bring these souls you know, to life, to the world, and then to be there to nurture them, to put them to bed, to, be there in the morning to get them ready for school and all that. Like her heart was so pulling. So she kind of transitioned with a real clarity now of who she wants to be, attracted a man who makes a ton of money. And when they got married, had given up on finding a woman to have kids with because he wanted children. And so he had money, but it's a guy who's got money who has no swag, right? He's one of those guys that's stoic and quiet. So he had no mojo for the ladies. So he was lonely, even though he was very capable. So when she showed up on his radar and she wanted to experience love lane, she learned how to be with a man because we're difficult to be with because we don't understand us. We're simple, but we're not, right? We're simpler. But we should learn what he is looking for, what he turned, whatever. Married with two kids now. So she's living the life, right, in every way. And ultimately, you ready? This is why I'm telling you all this whole story, is she's feisty. She could be feisty when she needs to. She could be sometimes a little bit masculine. And she says he travels quite a bit. So when he's home, he knows what he wants. He wants his wife next to him. That's all he wants, right? So she goes, we used to argue. He'd be in bed at 8:30, right? Because they chill in bed, whatever, with the TV, whatever. And he'd go, can you get over here? And she's like, I'm doing the dishes, right? And he's like, I don't care about the dishes. I want you to be with me, right? And she used to get mad at him because she's like, she would judge herself like, I don't want to get up to the dishes. He's going to think less of me because the kitchen's dirty, right? I'm doing all this for him. I'm like, honey, that's not what he cares about. He wants his wife when he's home. Like he wants you to be available to him. And she's like, anyway, the fine tuning became like, she goes, all I have to do is give him what he wants. And the more I give him what he wants, you know what I mean? As a feminine essence woman and a mom and a lover and all that stuff, the more he's out there working hard, making more money. The more I give him what I want, the more productive he is, and the more we all get to feel safer. And he's my hero, and she looks up at him, and he does everything right. She had to learn. It was a bit of an adventure.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I think when you listen, it feels complex, but it's really not. It's just streamlining everything that you thought you knew. And I think, again, it comes back to that traditional way that makes these, strong women feel like, because it feels like you're going backwards in terms of like what you feel like you should be. But it really is just so simple that just there to nurture, and I think I said this before to you that in like sort of astrology terms, like the man's the sun and the woman's the moon, and it's almost like the woman shines, like the man shines the light onto the moon and the moon reflects back to him that light. And I think that's just it in simplest forms, right? We overcomplicate it so much, but it does get to be that easy. It's just in order to be, feel and receive, you need to, one, feel safe in yourself, but again, you've become and feel safe by letting go of all the things that have stopped you feeling safe, which is ultimately being that masculine.
Preach, sister. You know exactly. You get it. You get it. You get it. And for most, it's some kind of journey because we can't. If you understand that polarity, masculine and feminine, is nature. Everything in nature that's polarized expands, grows, multiplies. Everything in nature, in every source of life, plant, animals, humans, is the polarity is what makes everything happen. But in our culture, we decided to go 50-50. And we wonder why it's not working. We literally are going against nature. Even when women are masculine, they attract feminine men, right? Again, this polarity, but they don't last 25 years. They just don't. So again, what works best, that's all I'm teaching, is more natural and feels better for both gender is traditional. And in that, he gets to be a hero and you get to be provided, protected for. Right?
Mm.
Again, it doesn't mean that you're a doormat, you don't work. Then it's a mixture. I call it the modern way to do relationships. My wife works part-time. She's a ballerina her entire life. So now she works at two colleges where she teaches and mentors young dancers into the world of dance. That's her whole life, right? But because she does it part-time, so she's still living her dream. She's still teaching. She's still mentoring. She's still feminine in that way. But she also gets to be a mom and a wife because she works part-time. When the kids were little, she had space and time to go get them at school at 3 p.m. when I was working 12 hours. Because I was very proud of working 12 hours because I provided the house and the pool and right. That just made me feel proud that I could be that guy for her to work less, still live her dream, but be a wife and a mother. And my favorite memories, because the kids are grown now, is I pull up my garage. I would leave the house at 7 a.m. That's when I had a brick and mortar business before this business. I'd leave the house 7 a.m. I'd come home at 7 p.m. That was, that was it. That was my day in and out. But in the summer, as you know, it's dark later. So I come home at 7 p.m. in the summer and it's bright and sunny. I'm in Los Angeles. My favorite memories is pull up in my garage, turn off my car, and go, what? As I opened the door, I could hear my wife and kids playing in the pool. They'd been there. She picked them up at 3. They had a snack. They did their homework. Now they're playing in the pool, waiting for daddy. You know how much pride there is in that? You know how much that just give me the juice to be able to go back the next day and do it again and again because I'm the one who provided this lifestyle. Of course, she helps because her salary helps, but you know what I mean? But she gets to be in a mixture of being motherly, feminine, nurturing, and a mentor and live her passion and dreams. I mean, that's what beat that. Try to beat that, right? So that's we want to find that sweet spot, but you can't find that sweet spot when there's no men showing up to do what men do. So that's the recalibration. Oh, I could do this all day long.
Yeah, no, I agree. Word. I think that is really it. And I think for any woman that's listening that is an entrepreneur or successful in whatever you do, I think the real question you need to ask yourself is, like, what does this money mean to you that you're making? Are you trying to earn more money to create more stability and safety in your life? But if you're craving that relationship and that nurture and all of the things that you're desiring, you could find it through a relationship. And I know that you've been taught that you can do it all for yourself, but what if you didn't have to? And I think that's the question that you need to ask yourself is if you're feeling that pull because you do want a relationship and you do want to be your feminine energy, it's about, can you take a step back of feeling like you need to do it all and allowing someone in to help you do that for you, basically. And that's a very long, complex space to be in, and that's why I guess we both do our work in different ways, right? So I guess now's a perfect time for you to kind of say how you work, how people can find you, and anything you're offering right now.
Oh, beautiful. Also, I have 2 gifts for your listeners, and I have an event coming up that maybe they'd be interested in this next Tuesday. So depending when you're releasing this, are you released before next Tuesday? Because I don't need to announce that.
No, I think it'll be the week
okay,
after.
so never mind. Okay, beautiful. So I do a lot of podcasting because I'm trying to spread the hope, spread the word. There is a way to make all this work in those modern days, right? Like the show that you're seeing is not working. So there's another way. And like I said, you can see how it's a little bit tedious, but it's simple, right? You go back to nature and essence and a little bit of psychology. So as I'm doing podcasts, I do like 3 to 4, sometimes 5 a week, spreading the word because my God mission is to really change the understanding of relationships in our culture. That's my God mission. So it's not about my business, it's about really changing the face of the world or how we understand relationships back to what works best, traditional to a point with a modern twist. Right? So as I'm doing podcasts, I notice there's 2 types of listeners, which is interesting. So I have 2 different gifts for your listeners, and we let them kind of select themselves, right? So if for a woman, for ladies, if if you're looking for information, I call them information seekers. People are like, what is that masculine and feminine thing I keep hearing about? Like, I don't understand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, information seekers, they're getting into the word gently. I'm gonna send you directly to my email. If you go to Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail, my name, Andre Coaching, COACHING, number one at Gmail. In the subject box, you write Irresistible Book. I will send you a copy of the book that I wrote with men's voice called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. This is my work with men. This is men speaking, ladies. And it has nothing to do with your butt. It has nothing to do with your hair color. It has nothing with it. It's energetically what men find irresistible. It's not what do you think. It's a workbook. So you get to work at it. It's 30 pages. It's really excellent. I sell it on my website. Andre Coaching One, Irresistible Book, gift for you. I'll digitally send it to you. Information seekers, that's for you. Now, the second type of listeners are people who resonated with what I said. You go, oh, wait. Ooh. And if you're an action taker, right, you like to step in when you find something that works for you. Andre Coaching One, in the subject box, just write talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link to my calendar. You can book a call with me, a one-on-one like you and I are having right now. And we'll talk about where you're stuck, right? Everybody's stuck in the loop. Again, that's the baggage, right? The loop keeps you from living, right? And when you realize you're stuck in a loop, anyway, so in that call, it's about an hour, we'll talk about where you're stuck and how. And we actually, I do this all day long. In 15 minutes, we get right to source. You'll understand why you're stuck in your masculine, or if you're a man, where you're stuck in your feminine. Which means now that you know what it is, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your product of your past. We can fix it. So that, it's invigorating some people to realize they're not broken permanently. They feel that way. And then we'll talk about the future. What do you want? Relationships, companionship, not necessarily marriage, but if you're young enough, you will marry. If you want to, and then we'll talk about what I offer, and there's different ways to get invested. But like again, Andre Coaching One, talk now if you're an action taker. No pressure. This is who I am. We'll just talk about you and what needs to be adjusted, because that's really all it is. Nobody's really broken, which is life will often make us feel like we are, but there's no need for that.
Definitely. And I think it's about being really clear on what it is you do want for yourself as well. I think a lot of us, especially these strong women, I think we almost condition ourselves to feel like you can't have the kids or the white picket fence or whatever because you're strong and you're building your career. But actually, if that's really truly what you want, you're allowed to have that. And I think that you don't allow yourself to want it. And I think that's also part of trauma response, So I think that, working with Andre in this space, and or if it's not relationship related and you're thinking about yourself and connected to your feminine energy and how that looks in your internal world and your healing journey, then obviously drop me a DM as well, because this is what I focus on.
That's your work. Yep.
That's it. So I think that either way, listening today, I hope that you can walk away with a sense of somewhere to go, for one, and also I hope that you feel seen and heard, because that's essentially what we've done today, is create hopefully an opening for you in your life wherever you're at right now. Thank you so much, Andre, for joining me. As always, it's such a thought-provoking and rich conversation, which I love. As always, I do the little soul to soul message at the end. So whatever you feel like the woman listening needs to hear right now, please do share.
Oh, beautiful. So my assistant is 28 years old. Young lady, lives in Los Angeles. She wants a traditional life. She wants 3 babies. She can't say that out loud. She cannot say that out loud. Women attack her. Girl, we need to talk. You're better than be some man's slave and kids will ruin your life. And she's like, can you just get off of me? But because she's actually feminine, this is why she wants traditional. That's her essence. She feels attacked. So she can't talk about it because they're literally just jump on her. She can't take it. So I'm saying, if you want to be a traditional woman, if you want to be a mom and a wife, right? Forget your culture, forget your feminist friends, and or sometimes mother has taught women to not trust men ever because she made a poor choice, right? That's toxic, right? So what do you want? So I'm encouraging you ladies, like, what do you want? Like, my client, you want the love lane or you want the money lane? Because you can't do both. You will not get both, right? And there's a way to get both, but not the way culture teaches it, the way I teach it. There's a way to get both, like my wife, right? So you have to pick a lane. And if you really want to be true, if you have an urge inside of you that you want family and babies, and, you have to recalibrate in the love lane and learn, why men show up, how they show up, why they show up, what makes them commit, because, none of that, right? There's a whole learning there, learning curve of how to be in the masculine, with the masculine, and negotiate with the masculine. So in the end, it's your life. So choose wisely. I'm just sounding an alarm, decide what you want, tell nobody, and go get it.
Yes. And I think, just to reiterate what you said there about, you get to have everything you want. It just looks different to how you're already doing it. And that's what we're trying to bring awareness to in this episode more than anything. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'll put all of Andre's details in the show notes so you can find him, and obviously connect with him and send those emails, because I know that those resources are going to be gold. So yes, thank you so much for joining me, Andre.
Absolutely. Anytime at all. So lovely to be with you.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, share, and send to someone you know that would benefit. If what I've said in this episode resonates with you, please don't hesitate to drop me a message so we can begin your journey of self-empowerment through self-discovery. My process is simple. Understand what happened to you so you can accept it. From there, you can release what no longer serves you, and then we begin to rebuild your self-worth, your self-esteem, and your self-trust to ultimately ensure that you become the version of yourself that you were destined to be. Time to give yourself the permission to shine.